either way. We're going to do some of these for information, and some of them, if there's a couple of them that may be here later. Somebody's stuck in traffic, and the other one's over at the announcement that's going on. So I'll call it to order, and we can't vote on the minutes or anything of that nature. But we will call it to order, and I guess we do need to do a roll call, I guess, I'm assuming. So first of all, let me do this. I want to welcome Liz Hardy. She was doing so well in banking and insurance by controlling me as the vice chair. They've decided to move her over here and have her to kind of watch me over here. So I've got my own personal guardian. So Liz is going to be with us at all time. I want you to welcome Liz Hardy. So now, Madam Secretary, you can call the roll.
Senator Howell. Here. Senator McDaniel. Senator Webb. Representative Herron. Representative Petrie. Representative Thomas.
Present in the room.
Co-Chair Girdler.
Present in the room.
Co-Chair Freeland.
Present in the room.
All right. Can approve the minutes. And most of us are here now. And Catherine's going to do some information items for us.
Pursuant to KRS 26A168.1, KRS 45793, and KRS 45818, the Administrative Office of the Courts, the Finance and Administration Cabinet with the Commonwealth Office of Technology reporting independently, and post-secondary institutions managing their own capital construction under KRS 164A580 transmitted quarterly capital project status reports. Pursuant to KRS 45760 sub 5, the University of Kentucky reported 2 restricted fund equipment purchases for healthcare facilities and 2 federally funded equipment purchases. The Finance and Administration Cabinet notified the committee that it proceeded with the project submitted for last month's meeting. Pursuant to KRS 45812.1, the Pulaski and Brown County School Districts, neither of which needed an additional tax levy to pay debt service, reported upcoming debt issues for new projects. Pursuant to KRS 48111.6a, the Division of Real Properties submitted its advertisement for CHFS space in Bullitt County. Pursuant to the Auditor of Public Accounts 2005 Model Program Checklist for Post-Secondary Education Lease Law Compliance, the Council on Post-Secondary Education transmitted lease law compliance reports, and the institution's auditors did not report any findings. The Kentucky Infrastructure Authority posted information relating to EPA's March release of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Implementation Guidelines for the Clean Water State Revolving Fund programs. The information will be incorporated in the fiscal year 2023 intended use plans, and KIA's Executive Director is here remotely to answer any questions regarding the bipartisan law implementation.
All right. Thank you, Catherine. Now, we're going to call, I know him as Ethan, but I'd say they know him as Mr. Witt at Eastern Kentucky. So if you all will come to the table and introduce yourself. And these are for one action item, but I guess we'll just do, we won't be able to do an action item, will we?
Oh, they can present. We just won't vote yet.
Like you present, we just won't be able to vote on you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Ethan Witt, Assistant Vice President for Government Relations at EKU, joined by Ryan Green, our Executive Director for Budgeting.
Good morning.
You may proceed.
We are presenting a project.
Anybody have any questions for him? We would take a motion, but it ain't gonna do you any good. So we'll present this like we did last time, I'm assuming. Yes. So if you have no opposition, so you should be in good shape.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Janice Thomas, the lady that used to have the recliner, but now they've made her give it up.
Good morning, Chairman.
Hi, Janice.
Thank you.
My name is Janice Thomas, Deputy State Budget Director. In accordance with the provisions of KRS 45750 through 45800, I'm reporting 5 projects that have been approved by the Secretary of Finance and Administration Cabinet. As listed on the agenda, there are 2 new action items, which I will present, knowing that not able to vote at this time, but I'll go ahead and present those. I have 1 equipment purchase for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and then I have 2 emergency maintenance and replacement projects. First is the Department of Military Affairs construct Burlington Field Maintenance Shop project in the amount of $16,120,500 funded with federal funds. This new 25,156 square foot field maintenance shop will be built adjacent to the Burlington Readiness Center. The new facility will provide maintenance services for military vehicles used by Burlington, Carrollton, and Walton armories, and will replace the leased maintenance shop currently operating in Burlington. So that is the first action item project for military affairs. The second project for the Department of Military Affairs is the Bowman Field Annex Readiness Center interior restoration project in the amount of $3.5 million located in Louisville, Kentucky. This project will be funded with $3 million federal funds and $500,000 from the state maintenance pool investment income funds to be used to meet the required match for that project. The Bowman Field Annex Readiness Center was constructed in 1951 and served as the U.S. Army Reserve Readiness Center until it was replaced by an adjacent new facility. The building has largely laid dormant since 2016, at which time an acquisition transfer process to the Kentucky Army National Guard began. This project will be complete interior renovation of the facility. Upgrades to the interior include latrines, HVAC system, lighting, electrical, anti-terrorist force protection windows, flooring, and walls. The plan is to station newly assigned 200-soldier divisional artillery headquarters within the existing facility. The renovated facility will include human resources, intelligence, operations, sustainment, signal, and special staff sections. With that, Mr. Chairman, are the 2 action items requesting approval for the Department of Military Affairs. If you like, I can move on to the next projects, or how would you like to proceed?
Let me see if we got any questions. If we don't, then we'll move on. Any questions on this? You may move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the reporting of equipment in excess of $200,000 for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, Department for Public Health, for the purchase of a Clear DX platform instrument in the amount of $307,600. The instrument will allow for identification of a broader range of diseases for surveillance of epidemiological investigations, tracking, route of transmission, tracing, route of transmission, detection of new mutations, and help determine effectiveness of new therapies and vaccines. This item of equipment will be funded with 100% federal funds from the Epidemiology and Laboratory Capacity for Prevention and Control of Emerging Infectious Disease Grant. I'm happy to take questions.
We have any questions for Janice on those? And thank you, Janice. Appreciate that.
Okay, and so, Mr. Chairman, the last 2 projects are being reported as emergency repair, maintenance, or replacement projects, and they are as follows. The Department of Military Affairs has an appropriation increase in the amount of $598,320, bringing the total appropriation to $1,648,320 for the State Emergency Operations Center window replacement project at the Boone National Guard Center in Frankfort, Kentucky. The increase will be funded with $558,850 from the Capital Construction Surplus account and $39,470 from the Emergency Repair, Maintenance, or Replacement Fund. This appropriation increase is due to the current bid climate driving the global economy and supply issues. This project was last reported in August of 2021. The last project, Mr. Chairman, is the Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet, Department of Parks, Lake Barkley Lodge Fire Repairs Project in the amount of $6 million. The project will be funded with insurance proceeds and involves building restoration and reconstruction to the lodge due to a fire that occurred on November 27th of 2021. The work primarily consists of repairs to the West Lodge wing from fire and smoke damage, as well as water and limited demolition damage from the resulting firefighting efforts. My apologies. I'm getting a little feedback on my end, so I apologize for the presentation here. So several hospitality rooms, linen storage room, as well as the mechanical room were directly affected by the fire, and the remaining rooms in the wing have smoke damage. And that concludes my presentation for today. And if we have enough for a quorum, I respectfully request approval of the 2 action items with military affairs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have nobody else that's come in, Janice, so we thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for her on anything? All right. Thank you, Janice. All right. We're going to have, I think Scott was supposed to be remote, but.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I'm here.
All right. There you go, Scott.
All right. The first item I have is a lease modification for the Department of Corrections in Boyd County. This lease is being modified to extend the lease for an additional 5 years, add an additional 1,429 square feet, and pay for renovation costs. 2 estimates were obtained for the renovation cost in the amounts of $85,263 from CTB Incorporated and $98,940.72 from the Boyd County Fiscal Court. The low bid submitted by CTB was incorporated and will be amortized through the new lease term that expires June 30th of 2028.
Anybody have any questions on that? All right. I think you got some more.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. The next item is a new lease and lease modification for the Transportation Cabinet in Graves County. Temporary housing is needed for families whose houses were damaged by the tornadoes that occurred in December of last year. The leased properties would provide sites with basic utility hookups to place non-congregate shelters. Therefore, leases were procured through the non-competitive negotiations. As a result, the Commonwealth entered into a lease for 15 suitable lots and added an additional 2 lots through a lease modification. The lots are leased on a month-to-month basis at a cost of $325 per site per month.
Any questions? All right.
The last item I have is a lease with Transportation Cabinet in Warren County. This is also for temporary housing needed for families whose houses were damaged by the tornadoes in December of last year. The leased properties provide sites with basic utility hookups to place the shelters. Therefore, the leases were procured through non-competitive negotiations. As a result, the Commonwealth entered into a lease for 10 suitable lots. The lots are leased on a month-to-month basis at a cost of $500 per site per month.
Any questions? Representative Thomas.
Hey, Scott. These are leases for the campers that are being put on sites and everything. How's that going? Because there's definitely a learning curve when you're living in a camper. I mean, certain things, you don't flush down toilets, things like that. How's that going so far?
Well, I have a couple of folks from Transportation Cabinet on the meeting with us today. I'm hoping that they can maybe answer that because they've probably been talking with the local folks that are using these shelters.
All right. That'd be great. Thanks.
Hey, good morning. I'm Jason Sawala, Assistant State Highway Engineer for the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. And thank you for your question. So as you mentioned, living in a shelter, a travel trailer is a little bit different than living in, a home or an apartment. And so definitely a little bit of a learning curve for some folks, especially if they've never used one of those types of units before. But when folks are leased into the program, we're doing walkthroughs with them and making sure that, folks understand how to use the facilities. They have, 24-hour contact information for a maintenance contractor that we have if anything does go awry. And, in general, we've had pretty good success with folks out there in the sheltering program.
All right. Thank you. No frozen water lines yet?
Thankfully, we're getting ready to be kind of out of that time of year. I hope,
That's
knock
true.
on something. But as a part of the program, we made sure that we had frost-proof hydrants and things like that, so that we're able to keep the water moving.
How long does the leases last? Are they able to stay in it 6 months, a year, suitable housing, or how long are some of the terms on some of these?
So as Scott mentioned, the leases are month to month, and every survivor situation is going to be a little bit different. And so as like new rental stock and housing stock come available in certain communities, getting folks sheltered is obviously the first mission, getting a roof over folks' head, but then, helping them transition out of that sheltering into, a more permanent solution is definitely the goal. And so when we think about non-congregate sheltering in general, the idea is for that to be up to 6 months with the ability to extend based on individual circumstances. And so those are things that we're working with individuals on in the program as we go in partnership with Kentucky Emergency Management.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. We might need to keep those people in our prayers today because the storms are headed through there now, so are supposed to. That's what they're projecting anyway. So thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Scott. I think we're through. Are you finished up?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now we've got Sandy Williams, and she's remote, I think.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, Sandy.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Girdler and members of the committee. I'm Sandy Williams, Executive Director with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority. Pursuant to KRS 224A-100, the authority will present one loan and 148 Cleaner Water Program grants. Would you like for me to start with the loan?
Yeah, if you want to, you can do all at the same time, and then we can come, if we got any questions, we'll ask them then.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So the one and only loan is to the city of Catlettsburg, and they are requesting a Fund B loan in the amount of $499,853.09 to partially repay an existing KIA Fund A loan, A14-013. The original project was to upgrade and rehabilitate the wastewater treatment plant and replace a portion of their sanitary sewer collection system. The city was unable to produce the American Iron and Steel certification for the collection system replacement, and EPA will not allow a waiver of this requirement. And EPA is requiring the city to repay the portion of the Fund A loan that is not in compliance with the American Iron and Steel requirement. The new Fund B loan will keep the same terms as the original loan and will have an interest rate of 0.75%. And the loan was approved at KIA's February 3rd board meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Sandy? You may proceed on.
Thank you, sir. And also today we have 148 Cleaner Water Program grants for the committee's review. I would like to note that 39 of these projects are in the members' districts. That represents 26% of the total. And Chairman Girdler, I believe 2 of those projects are in your district.
Well, thank you. I'd go home with some good news, right?
Yes, sir. We like good news. And that's the report from KIA today.
All right. If there's no questions, we'll let Sandy go. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, sir.
Sarah, you can introduce yourself. Good morning. Out of curiosity, economic development is out there. What are we announcing out there? Do you know? All right. All right. All right. Thank you. For some reason, they don't know me either, so.
Well, thank you for having me today. I'm Deputy Commissioner Sarah Butler from the Cabinet for Economic Development. I have projects for your consideration.
Well, thank you. The first one is Graves County Fiscal Court, in partnership with Graves County Economic Development, Inc., is seeking to build a 150,000 square foot pre-graded pad on 16 acres in the Hickory Industrial Park. Graves County Economic Development, Inc. has committed funds to match the Economic Development Fund grant. This project is a potential infrastructure project and has the potential for a future location of an economic development project. Under the terms of the EDF grant agreement, funds shall be disbursed on a reimbursement basis after supporting documentation and invoices, proof of payment, matching funds, and a progress report are received. Upon staff's review and approval of all documentation, funds will be disbursed to the local government entity to provide to the project applicant. Economic Development Cabinet Secretary Larry Hayes and Finance Secretary Holly Johnson have concurred with the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority, or KEDFA, for their approval on March 31st. State Property and Buildings Commissions approved on April 12, 2022. So I respectfully request your approval for the use of $115,000 in economic development funds for the purpose of making a grant to Graves County Fiscal Court on behalf of Graves County Economic Development, Inc. Any questions?
Any questions for? All right, you can proceed on.
Excellent, thank you. I'm practicing my German here. Wieland North American Recycling, LLC, is a subsidiary of Wieland North America, a leading manufacturer and converter of copper and copper alloy, sheet, strip, foil, tube, and fabricated components in North America. The company will establish a new manufacturing facility in Shelbyville. The proposed EDF grant funds will be used to offset the capital investment costs associated with the project. In consideration of this EDF grant, Wieland North American Recycling will be required to make an investment and create new full-time jobs for employees subject to Kentucky individual income tax, paying $30 an hour, including benefits, for the creation of 225 full-time jobs over 4 years through the final compliance date of December 31st, 2028. Under the terms of the EDF grant agreement, disbursement of grant funds will occur after annual compliance reporting has occurred. The amount of the disbursement will be based on the performance requirements achieved. If the company fails to create or maintain the job target as of each compliance date, then the amount of the grant payable will be, excuse me, I lost my place here. If the company fails to create or maintain the job target as of each compliance date, then the amount of the grant payable after each new full-time job not created or maintained by the company at each of the 4 annual compliance measurements. Furthermore, Wieland North American Recycling fails to pay the average hourly wage of $30, including benefits. The amount of the grant payable after each compliance measurement date will be reduced by a pro rata amount of the EDF grant based on a formula to be outlined in the EDF agreement. Economic Development Cabinet Secretary Larry Hayes and Finance Secretary Holly Johnson have concurred with KEDFA's approval on March 31st. State Property and Buildings Commission had approved on April 12th, 2022. I respectfully request your approval for a $500,000 Economic Development Grant Fund for the purpose of making a grant to the Shelby County Fiscal Court on behalf of Wieland North America Recycling, LLC. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Have any questions for her on that other than her German?
The W is pronounced as a V, my German assistant
So
told me.
then a Volkswagen would be a?
Volkswagen.
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 All right. You can do the City of Bowling Green next. We don't have enough to give you the approval, but I'm assuming you'll be all right anyway.
All right, well, thank you for that. The City of Bowling Green, in partnership with Intermodal Transportation Authority, Inc., is seeking to extend utilities to provide service to over 669 acres in Kentucky Trans Park. This project is a potential infrastructure project that has potential for a
future investment and location of an economic development project. Under the terms of the EDF agreement, funds shall be dispersed on a reimbursement basis after supporting documentation of invoices, proof of payment, matching funds, and a progress report are received. Upon staff's review and approval of all documentation, funds will be dispersed to the local government entity to provide to the project applicant. Economic Development Cabinet Secretary Larry Hayes and Finance Secretary Holly Johnson have concurred with KEDFA's approval on March 31st. State Property and Buildings Commission approved on April 12, 2022. I respectfully request your approval for the use of $500,000 in EDF funds for the purpose of making a grant to the City of Bowling Green on behalf of Intermodal Transportation Authority.
All right, anybody have any questions on that one? You're approved.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All
Appreciate
right.
it. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Ryan?
Morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Have a very light agenda for consideration today. If I may, the first two items, just the two general comments I want to make sure we articulate. They're the multifamily housing, state-granted private activity, neither extend the Commonwealth credit or the credit of the Housing Corporation. So focusing in on the first project, Carl D. Perkins, Series 2022, it's acquisition, actually renovation and equipping. I believe it says construction in the packet. That was just a typo. 150 units located in 200 Douglas Parkway in Pikeville, Kentucky. Net proceeds of the project is about $10 million, with the total project cost exceeding $18.5. The developer as well as the financing team is in the packet. So moving on to the second multifamily housing, Eclipse and Russell project, Series 2022, 208 units located in multiple parcels on Magazine Street in Louisville. This is new construction. The anticipated net proceeds is $40 million, and that breakout's outlined in the packet, with the project cost itself exceeding $73.7 million. Again, the financing team and the developer information is in the packet. Happy to take any questions on either of those.
Have any
housing.
questions? All right, you may proceed on.
Thank you very much. For the last item today for consideration, again, we have a light SFCC calendar, just two transactions. Both of them are new money, Caldwell County and Owen County. The total estimated par combined is about $11 million. They're both tax-exempt projects. The local component is just over $10 million, representing about 92% of the par amount, with SFCC just about 7.8%. As I said, they're both new money transactions, but there's no new tax increase necessary to service debt on either project.
Any questions? You did good.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Next meeting, since we're at the end of the session, everybody's kind of wore out, I guess. We hope to have a quorum, and we hope to have all of you back, and we'll get them properly vetted and voted on. So next meeting will be hopefully May 17th at 1 p.m. at room 169 with Representative Chris Freeland. And so if we'll adjourn, and we'll go at 11 o'clock to the Senate headquarters if y'all want to watch that.